evening, everybody. We have a double header here on Wednesday, but we are introducing a new era here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. And I couldn't have a better person alongside of me than my longtime partner, George Eichhorn, to do it. George, we have two tonight. This one's going to be special.
Hats off, my friend, of 45 plus years in broadcasting and sports. Scott, the Motor City Mad Mouth. This is George Eichhorn, ready to roll, man. Looking forward to it.
We sure are. I want to introduce Sports Wrap on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. And I want to point out a couple things that are very, very important to mention tonight. And in no way, shape, or form, and I'm going to mention this not once but twice, I will not call out any specific individuals tonight. And I repeat, I will not call out any specific individuals tonight. I want to make that clear. This is a company decision, is what it is, to try to build a show, and I'll get into those specifics in a moment. So this is something important. I don't like to call out any individuals because I don't think it does anybody any good, and it's not about that. But when you make a business decision, you have to think it very thoroughly before that decision is made. So I'm making that very clear in that declaration up front right now. So with that said, George, on May 31st, a show that I rebranded and was the executive producer, mind you, was put on hiatus and canceled and will be brought back at a later date. Now, get this. I found out on social media, and here's the thing: when my wife Candy tells me that this show, with all the time and effort that I find out on social media, instead of from the direct source, I have an issue with that. Keep in mind, our platform was only limited because we were not producing the shows to be able to share it to two different platforms. First of all, what are your thoughts when you hear about a decision like this from that source instead of the direct source?
Well, yeah, I mean, it should come from the direct source, no question about it. Numbers are important, and all of that speaks loudly as far as shows go and podcasts go,
Right.
and it's very important. But there's got to be an open line communications. There's got to be an investment, and there has to be, yeah, coming from the source is always more efficient.
Called professional. Keep in mind, the company that I'm referring to has been non-existent, mind you, on Instagram and LinkedIn. So they're not able to, they don't promote it there. LinkedIn's not a tough, easy thing to stream onto because number one, or share your stuff, because you have to have so many professional subscribers, but they're non-existent there. But they don't even have an Instagram account to my knowledge. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I didn't see it. Otherwise, I would have followed it. And this company I'm also referring to has a mere 314 followers on YouTube, which is, or no, 314 followers on Twitter and 220 YouTube subscribers, which is not acceptable to what we're looking to do in an effort to try to make sure this show is what it's about. And I'm not going to kid you. I'm here to sell books and also be able to
Yeah.
create an opportunity to do different things. And the way I look at it is, mind you, 314 followers on Twitter is unacceptable if you're in the media business and you're trying to promote your brand. At 220 subscribers, it's just not good enough on
No,
YouTube. So,
no,
with
it's
that
not.
said, I want to point out that since I do have time invested in it, I've decided that it was time to take a show that I participated on from 9 to 10 a.m. and move it on Thursdays before fire up to 8 to 9 p.m. So mine the year before that time that I participated was 9 to 10 o'clock, and now I'm going to be on the show that will be from 8 to 9. Now, whether that company decides to continue at that time slot on Saturdays is one thing, but I will not be a part of it. And the reason why I won't be a part of it is because I have a vested interest in the University of South Florida, Florida Atlantic University Owls, and most of all the Miami Hurricanes. And college football is big. And with the amount of shows that I do during the week, I don't have time to do Saturdays unless it's a special situation or Sunday. But I don't like to do that because I feel you have to have an adequate amount of time to go out there and do field work. So I know it'll be a great lead into Fire Up. Candy Emily does an incredible job hosting the show. I expect the better ratings at this time for they're not competing, as I mentioned, with college football and other things as well. And the biggest thing it's important to that when you're not able to do what you have to do on all social media platforms, now I have the ability to stream to multiple forms. In addition to the fact that we have a larger YouTube following than that particular production company, which I've already mentioned. Our subscriber base is 1,300 plus, and I'm
Yeah.
using it as a conservative figure. Last night it was like 1,333 or 220. That I don't have to be a math genius to tell you, but that's a lot.
Yeah. It sure is. Yeah. And it's something you continue to build. Both of you continue to build that as you must.
Right. So, like I said, with that said, tonight is a new era of sports rap, is what it is on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. And what I was really going to allow is I want to take all the effort on my own to bring it on this platform so that I can put all the work in there and make sure that all the topics are accountable and make sure that that show has topics available every night. And I don't do shows where I wing it. I believe it's important to go out there and do what you have to do. And I was not letting all my efforts go to waste when a show is abruptly put to a halt when I'm not a part of that final decision with that particular production company.
Yep.
Would you?
No, of course not.
No,
No.
you're not getting paid an appearance fee on this thing. Yes, it's great to promote a book,
Yeah.
but I'm not letting my efforts go to waste when obviously somebody else puts it to a halt. So that's why it was important for me to take action as soon as I saw that notification it was being canceled on that time for the foreseeable future and move it here real quickly. So
Yeah.
with that said,
Exactly.
let's talk about what we're going to be doing on this show.
Sure.
So we're on Sports Wrap. What we're going to be doing is we're going to have our fair share of guests, without a doubt. But this show is going to emphasize hockey, is what it will be, and it will be a perfect complement to the Sports Exchange on Wednesday. It really will. I don't want to have two Sports Exchange episodes in 1 week anymore. It's a lot easier for Candy Ebling as the executive producer to be able to differentiate one night versus the other.
Sure.
And now we'll
Yeah.
be able to have the ability to do that. And I'll tell you right now, you and I know that Sports Rap in Metro Detroit has a pretty good following. You know, I think Frank Beckman was the original host of it. I don't remember who
Yes.
the other one was.
Yes, it was Frank Beckman, and then for a while Steve Courtney as well.
All right.
Yeah, and yeah. Frank launched it. Oh, geez, way back in the late '70s, early '80s.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I got the idea from Detroit, and now we're just continuing making sure that it's on a national level where we're able to do it. The biggest thing you have to do nowadays, and I mentioned it in my book, okay, is lessons from the microphone. I will talk about this particular situation and making a reference why I had to move so swiftly to make the change, knowing you don't start something and then stop it just because you don't have all your ducks in order, which
yeah,
I'm going to say with my observation, I don't think they were all there. But I'm glad this particular individual made the decision when he did, because as Candy and I get ready to go to Europe, we can begin the process immediately of making sure that it appears on as many audio platforms as we're going to be able to seek and find. And you and
yep,
I and Mike Santos are going to be the primary individuals on there, and there'll be other individuals that participate as well.
yep. Definitely
So
looking forward to it. Yeah,
the audio platforms, let me tell you, part of this, what we've done is our growth here at the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network was we started off on the audio end first and gradually built up to visual. And then we found out as I continued to experiment with different things that could be both complementary. And of course, now we insert certain shows in there on certain topics. And we built that thing. So we're staying true to form that the only time that we will add a show to our network is when we feel there's a need and it makes sense. That's why the addition of Sports Rep will be an absolutely no brainer. It really is. And I'm
yeah,
thankful for the opportunity that we had on Saturdays to be able to be on that show with a couple really good people. But I think it's necessary to do what we can in our best interest as a network to take it to the next level. And that's exactly what we're going to do, which is why the show is built around you and myself. And of course, Mike Santos, for as long as he remains a part of it. So it's going to
yes,
be a versatile show with a lot of sports topics, but hockey has its own show. And I'm dedicating this show, or not so much dedicating, George,
yeah,
emphasizing it will be hockey as well as anything that comes from. You can't sit here, not to say that you won't make changes along the way, but
yeah,
now
yeah,
hockey has a designated show that we can call Sports Rap instead of having to be confusing it with another show that you and I built many, many years ago.
That's correct. Yeah. And hockey is so popular, as we know, both in Florida and Michigan, and as well as other parts of the country. So we're going to answer that call for a great show. I know we're going to do, but like you said, other topics as well.
Well, you and I have spent our entire time together going out there and taking things from the ground up and building them from scratch. This, to me, for us, is a no-brainer, the easiest thing we'll ever have to do, anyways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be fun. And Mike's a great talent as well. Looking forward to Mike Santos' contributions always. You know that.
Yeah, he's done an unbelievable job helping me this year on the hockey show when we had to make
Yeah.
an in-season change, and he's done a marvelous job on it. He really, really has, by providing expert
Sure.
hockey insight. And now I will tell you right now, Mike Santos and Hockey Operations LLC will be the sponsor of Sports Wrap. Just so you know, we already have that in place to begin with, so he will sponsor that show. Candy, we're going to go to a station break. Then George and I have some topics we want to get to.
The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and the foreword is written by your other co-host, George Eichhorn. Excellent book, gentlemen. Talks about 45 years in the media business and how it has evolved and changed. New school media versus old school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can find a plethora of great content, including the link to this book and a link to our merchandise store. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not subscribed to us yet. I do not know what you're waiting for, so do so today. And then share us with all your friends and family, anyone that you think would like any of our programs. We have multitude of programs. We have 108 Stitches Baseball Talk Monday nights. Inside the Pigskin Tuesday nights. Sports Exchange, never know what we're talking about on that, Wednesday nights. Thursday nights, Sports Wrap, talks hockey. And you never know what else. And then on Fire Up, boy, you better tune in to find out what's happening on Fire Up. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com.
Thank you, Candy. And the one thing I emphasize a lot, George, is momentum is what you have to do. You can't go out there and see what you're doing, lose momentum, because it's too difficult to be able to build shows to begin with. And that's why as soon as I saw that social media post about what transpired on Saturdays, I wasted no time being able to say, we're not stopping momentum. We are not halting progress. And as a result, we're going to take matters in our own hands. Yeah, like I said, what else? Yeah, you just can't do it. And tell me, what's your definition of momentum?
Well, my definition of momentum is obviously you're taking energy, the energy that more than likely would be generated by yourself and myself, whoever the person is, and really continuing that at a high level. You know,
Right.
Momentum is easy to say. Oh gosh, yeah. Well, they outscored them 15-2 in the third quarter. Well, it goes just beyond that. I mean, it's not just that one little instance. I know that momentum changes a lot in sports, but as
Right.
far as on our show, it's something that we want to sustain, something that we want to push and have it at a high level and be informative like we are, trying to tell people things maybe they don't know, or like you and I always say, stories or things that aren't covered by the mainstream, which you have a great knack at doing, Scott. I know with the topics that you have worked hard on selecting.
Well, not only that, hey, don't get me wrong, I enjoy 9 to 10 in the morning on Saturdays. I really don't mind it
Yeah.
at all. But let's face it, there's nothing better than being able to do it in prime time as a lead-in to another show that you know is doing really well.
Yes.
So what type of lead-in to go out there and have? Well, I've been working diligently as we continue to grow the broadcasting network to find good lead-ins every night of the week, Monday through Thursday when we broadcast. Again, we full well that we enjoy what we do in the field on the weekends. We really do.
Oh.
So there's a perfect complement is what we
Yeah.
did. And we'll leave it at, and I want to
Yeah.
emphasize out in the chat room that what you're saying is not accurate, period. And I'll leave it at that, especially knowing full well that in that particular situation, that is so farther from the truth, and we'll leave it privately, and we will not post it. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about some topics, because there are a few of them.
Yes.
And one of my favorite people, unfortunately, announced his retirement after 13 seasons with the Pirates, Tigers, Nationals, Athletics, White Sox, and Phillies. And he was an all-star in 2014 and 2017. His name is Josh Harrison. I had the opportunity to go out there and talk to Josh Harrison, one of the classiest people that you will ever meet. Every time I needed him, he was a very candid guy. He really, really was. And when I hit him with an impromptu interview request over at Lakeland, no problem, pulled over, gave me whatever time he needs. And when I went down to Miami and talked to him, it was like we're friends anyway. So with that said, George, what are your thoughts about Josh Harrison?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this guy, he played the game. Yes, he was on so many different teams, as you mentioned, the Cubs, Pirates, Tigers, Phillies, Nationals, Athletics, White Sox, Phillies again, Rangers, Reds. But the thing is he had so much desire, so much enthusiasm, going back to when he was a kid, playing T-ball at a very young age. And of course, like you mentioned about Detroit had a one-year contract with the Tigers. Josh had back in 2019. And I am glad that obviously he spent a little bit of time with the Tigers, one of baseball's marquee franchises over the years. And he really was a sponge. He learned a lot. He shared his advice and talents and game experiences with a lot of young players on that team, as you know. And, I wasn't happy when they just all of a sudden decided to go in another direction. But after that, he landed with the Phillies and went on to Washington, Oakland, and a lot of other teams after that. So, yeah, he loves the game of baseball. He loves it. He radiates excitement, and he knew how to be a valuable person in that everyday lineup when they played him every day, or else a substitute, obviously, coming off the bench.
All right, let me go back to the chat room. I think this is important to get some of these comments on the record so that they're definitely important to recognize. Number one, Cyberuski, I know where you're coming from, but I'm going to set the record straight that the show that we have tonight is one that I went out there and suggested to the individual for whom you were mentioned, because there was another show that needed to be rebranded, and I'm the one who came up with the name in the first place, and I got that from Detroit. It was rebranded. I was the executive producer on it, and the individual that you're speaking with thought it was a great idea and had no problem with it. The only reason why it's being moved to Thursday night, as far as my participation is concerned, is this individual made an announcement on social media that he was canceling the show for the foreseeable future, and I was not letting all my work go to waste. I want to preface that nothing was stolen. I'm the guy that came up with the name in the first place, and as long as you look at the advertisements on this particular announcement, my name is on there with the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network on there. And no, this is just a one-time Wednesday show. This show will be a lead-in to Fire Up on Thursday night, so you're going to have Sports Wrap as well as Fire Up. I want to make sure that Cyberuski and Joshua Dorr understand that, and I appreciate you addressing that in the chat room. The individual that I work with is one of the nicest individuals I've ever worked with, but the reality is there's a time comes that we know business is business, and you can't put all your hard work out there and let it, unfortunately, go to waste. You have to keep the momentum going, and that's what it's all about. But I'm glad that these guys went out there and mentioned it in there, because I wanted to make sure that the record was straight, and then when they go ahead and watch the replay and certain things, it'll become more clarified. But so, as far as I'm concerned, that Joshua Dora makes a good point, but I won't mention what we're talking about as far as the previous show. In fact, actually, they both make good points in there, but I want to leave it at that. So no names were stolen. The Sports Wrap came from me, and George and I both have a record with that show in the past, and that's why all we're doing is taking it to another level where we can hit as many social media outlets as we can, in addition to making sure that we're able to provide the necessary audio attention that it deserves with the resources that we have. Josh Shador, you're very welcome. Thanks for clearing this up. I knew that George, I knew there would be questions along the
Yes.
lines here,
Yeah.
and I go out there and give Joshua Dorr and Cyberewski a great job bringing it to our attention, because a lot of people wonder, why is there a mix-up? There isn't. The first move was made by this production company, and all I did was go out there and counter the move, say, no, maybe in your eyes it is, in my eyes it isn't going to be changed, because I'm going to take care of the situation. I was in charge of the whole show. It was my job to make sure that their chat room was clean, that nobody was being taken shots at. And I run a really, really, really tight ship here. Well, I want everybody to voice their opinions in these rooms, but with good taste in mind. So hats off to you, Cyberewski and Joshua Dorr, for being able to address this and giving me the opportunity to provide clarification when it's necessary, because I will not talk about this subject another time. And I repeat at the top of the show, I am not calling out any specific individuals whatsoever on this particular topic. I'm not going to do it. I have no time for any of that stuff anyways, but I just want to make sure it's about clarification. Where in the eyes of Frank Reynolds, it's about getting it right. And that's exactly what we're doing here. All right, second topic of the night. And Sports Exchange follows us tonight, but then the normal rotation will be Sports Wrap followed by Fire Up. Tonight, George and I do double duty. All right, according to CBS Sports, the state of Florida has been dominating the East. Tampa Bay Lightning have 4, the Florida Panthers 3, and the Miami Heat 6 when it comes to the NHL NBA Eastern Conference Finals since 2000. As everybody else, they have 16. Don't tell me that Florida can't play winter sports, because doing wheel of job, and the Florida Panthers are making their 3rd straight finals appearance. And another thing I should point out as well that'll be mentioned later is the Charlotte Checkers, the Panthers' top affiliate, will be playing for the Calder Cup as well. That's been announced. I don't know who the opponent is, but it's worth mentioning on this show as well. George, what are your thoughts about the fact that the state of Florida knows their winter sports?
Oh my goodness. Yes. It really is amazing. And I tell you what, going back to those great teams Tampa Bay Lightning had that, Steve Yzerman helped form. And of course, they're still viable contenders. A lot of people picked them to win it this year, but Florida Panthers, unbelievable. I mean, 3 straight years to the Cup Finals, as you mentioned, and with Tampa Bay, and then of course the Miami Heat. That's another franchise that obviously had some great years, and then slowed down a little bit, but they're coming on. I really do think that, yeah, you're right. I mean, people just in the old days, us old farts would say, oh yeah, go to Florida, have a great time in the wintertime, and relax and see some baseball, and that's it. Well, that's not true. And maybe it was never true in the sense, since expansion happened in Florida with the NBA and the NHL. But yeah, there's no question about it. This report by CBS Sports really opened my eyes, and it does illustrate the great winter sports activities. And plus, Scott, covering college basketball as you and Candy Ebling do, I mean, there's been great stories in college football and college basketball in Florida as well. So when you look at the total package of winter sports, man, oh man, well, and of course football's not in the winter, but what I'm saying is that Florida is really on the map, definitely for college and for professional basketball, hockey, and like I said, college football in the fall.
Well, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, and Josh, just so you guys know, I know the Stanley Cup Final starts tonight. I know you have a pertinent interest in it. We have 2 shows around this one and the Sports Exchange as well. So I'm glad you're able to take a peek here early before that particular game's on. But yes, Cyberewski, it is a special that we are having. So that's a good point, though. It really, really, really is that these guys are into what they are. There's no question about it, that what we're able to do. And we want to keep everything clean. But yeah, Josh Hamilton, Miami Heat, Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers. This state is much better along than most people think that they really, really, really are.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the Stanley Cup finals. It really, really, really well, and it'll be a great series between the Panthers and Edmonton. And we'll leave it at that because I have a
Yeah,
hockey show to deal with
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
But don't mind mentioning it because, after all, Sports Rep is going to be the hockey home for, like I said, Sports Rep is our new hockey home.
Yes, definitely.
Speaking of hockey, we'll keep it going. Chicago Blackhawks have hired former Red Wings coach Jeff Blashill as their new head coach. What are your thoughts about the hire?
Well, I never doubted that Jeff Blashill was going to land in another head coaching position. The man did, you know, a so-so job, but it wasn't a really bad job in Detroit. They just never made the playoffs. And obviously the fans screamed for a change. And Eisman brought about that change as the club president and GM. But I will say this, Jeff Blashill, really has a lot of room for growth. He does work very well with young players, as we know. When he was the coach of the Grand Rapids Griffins, the Red Wings top farm team for many years, and developed a lot of the young players. Not a lot of them, but some of them that are on the Red Wing roster right now. But the fact of the matter is that he's coming into a situation where, again, it's a original six team. The Blackhawks, just like the Red Wings, have been struggling for years and years. I put the Red Wings obviously further along than the Blackhawks right now as far as the development goes and trying to break out of the pack and make the playoffs again. But Jeff's a good guy. He's always been friendly to the media and stuff in Detroit. It was just the right time for him to move on. And I might add, he went to a winning team that we just mentioned a few minutes ago, the Tampa
Right.
Bay Lightning. So it's not like he was going to some team out in the middle of nowhere, that's not contending for anything. He went to a winner and he learned a lot, no question about
Right.
it, in Tampa Bay. There's no question in my mind. And he can bring those now. A lot of things he maybe didn't know that he didn't know how to do in Detroit or whatever, but now he's going out to become head coach again.
Well, sure, you learn from
I think
John.
it's a good move.
Well, lots of coaches go to a different place to resurface. John Cooper certainly taught him a lot, brought him on,
Yeah.
and now he's ready to take on his second coaching gig. Keep in mind, Chuck Daly lost with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and how did it work on his second gig with the Detroit Pistons?
Yeah.
Need I say more? Yeah, I'll give Severusky a dog check on the Sports Rap Show. You got it. I owe it to you that much for tuning in tonight. No problem. By all means, we enjoy these guys and Joshua George Cyberusky. They're fans of our shows, and we appreciate what they bring in to the chat room. When they keep it clean, they're
For
on
sure.
target. And these guys have come a long way for sure. So, but with all
Yeah.
due respect, that's what we have here. Jeff Blashill, CBS Sports, Florida's Winter Sports, and Josh Harrison have now opened up a new era on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. I'll be a part of Sports Rep on Thursday nights only. That's it. And I am so excited that we're able to take a show that had great history back in Metro Detroit. And we definitely had some fun with it on Saturday, but now I'm ready to bring it to prime time. And I'm excited about the challenge that you and I have undertaken, George, to bring this thing out here. And and our expectations is we'll do everything in our power to make sure that the show reaches the levels that we feel that it has a potential to do. And I couldn't think of a better way that I don't take on challenges unless I put my mind, my heart into them, that they're going to work. And I'm extremely excited about the endeavor that we've taken on here at the network. And with you alongside you
Sure.
and I launching it up tonight, we want to make sure we got this out there to let people know you have another entertainment option on our network. With that said,
Sure.
Katie, I believe one more station break, and then we'll go ahead and Eichhorn promote his book, and he'll get dinner, and he'll join us for the Sports Exchange later.
The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and the foreword is written by George Eichhorn. Talks about their 40-plus years in the media and how it has evolved and changed. Go get your copy today. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You see the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. That means you have not yet subscribed to the South Florida Tribune's YouTube channel. Honestly, I don't know why not, but please do so now. Don't wait. Click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. We have such great content. And we cover everything from baseball to football to cornhole to NHL to combat sports with Steve Reichel. You just go check out our channel. There's something for everybody. If you like one-on-one interviews, Scott does the Motor City Mad Mouse Show, which is a one-on-one interview show. Just go check it out. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have show ideas or topic ideas even, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Great show tonight, guys.
Thank you, Candy.
Thank
Well,
you,
like I
Candy.
said, George, I'm not going to belabor the point, but this is a good compliment to the Sports Exchange and a good lead in to Fire Up. And I think
Absolutely.
that's what made this such a very easy decision to move forward with. And I love the idea that the show has now made it to prime time. And
Oh,
you and I, to me, we know what we have to do. We've already discussed plans of what we want to do with the show, and I'm just looking forward to getting the whole thing started. So, George, go ahead and why don't you promote your book real quick, and then you can go to dinner, and we have some work to do later.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Yes. I write for the South Florida Tribune and locally for the Detroit Monitor. My book is called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. At the end of my column, there's always a link there, and the link takes you over to Amazon to pick up a copy of the book. I chronicle over 90 years of sports broadcasting in Detroit with all the legends: Ernie Harwell, Van Patrick, Bud Lynch, Bruce Martin, and the younger guys too as well. Dan Dickerson is in there, and so is Ken Cal and Ken Daniels, and of course the great George Blaha and Dan Miller. But I'll tell you what, it was a fun book to write. Scott, you gave me some great pictures of yourself. I know, with Jimmy Connors and Muhammad Ali, and I thank all the people who loaned me pictures for that book. It was a great time doing that. And you can follow me on Sanji Sports 99 on Twitter, and right here on the Sports Wrap Show, as well as 108 Stitches and wherever else Scott needs me. And happy to fill in. We've got that 40-plus year association, as we've mentioned before, and we're proud of it. So good to be part of the show tonight. Reach me with program ideas at gicorn@yahoo.com. Great being
There you go.
Scott.
Great stuff, George. Being with you for my whole life. That's what it's all about. My book, Lessons from the Microphone, talks a lot about relationship building. And when they look at our relationships over the years, my goodness, that defines what it's all about in terms of networking and expanding your brand. And that's what we've begun to do. You were a big mentor for me during the early, and now I'm able to provide you with knowledge about old school media versus new school media.
Yes.
And that's how you put it all together. So with that said, that does conclude this edition of our opening act on Sports Wrap. So hope you enjoyed it. Now you have an understanding about the latest program on our network. So with that said, on behalf of George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morgan, the Motor City Mad Mouth. Thank you for joining us on our first show of Sports Wrap. We will see you tonight on the Sports Exchange at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night, everybody. See you in a little while. Bye now.
Bye.